All right, we now take our first look at the upcoming NFL draft, which is set to get underway next Thursday. We'll focus our coverage on quarterbacks tonight and the teams poised to draft a franchise signal caller. NFL.com's Peter Schrager has 5 quarterbacks being drafted in the top 10, including a clean sweep of the top 3. You may remember last year we spent about a month on the draft because there was nothing else to do but the draft. Yeah. Drake, as far as I can tell, the consensus has been Trevor Lawrence will go first overall to Jacksonville. What do you make of the rest of the quarterback selections in Schrager's mock draft?
So the top 3, I agree with. I agree with. I'm feeling pretty solid. What Trevor Lawrence? Listen, the dude can't even say that he don't got a chip on his shoulder, so he's going number 1. Like
Man,
he's already.
That's got to bump him down a little bit, don't you think? Not.
I mean, yeah, they might ask him to cut his hair, but he's still going number 1. That's about it. Because I think I heard a stat like it's been a while since a player then went wire to wire as number 1. Now he still got to get drafted number 1, but I just come on. Jacksonville is not gonna pass on Trevor. George will probably. We don't know what'll happen to him. Like if that happened, but I do agree with Zach Wilson to the Jets and Mac Jones to the 49ers. I agree with Schrager's on that. Now, no, I don't think 5 quarterbacks are going in the top 10. I don't see it. 5 quarterbacks going top 10. That's a lot trading back up. I'm just going to be honest. I don't see that. I like what he say, Kyle Pitts to the Falcons. Now, the Falcons is a team that could trade back because Kyle Pitts everybody's telling me he's the best player in this draft outside of quarterback, the best non-quarterback in the draft. You know, whatever. If that's true, maybe. But my problem is, listen, the Falcons have been drafting wide receivers and pass catchers for like the last 5 years. At some point, they're going to have to get an heir apparent to Matt Ryan. They're going to have to. So I'll be very surprised to see how they do that because Matt Ryan puts Atlanta in a bad situation. They're not going to be, good enough to win a Super Bowl, but, they're probably not going to be the number 1 overall pick either. So, and then you got Matt Ryan that can still play, but he just can't get you over the hump. That over the hump is gone. That was Kyle Shanahan. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you do with Kyle Pitts? It's like I think picks like that is what's going to throw off. Because what if the Falcons decide to draft a quarterback? Now you got Kyle Pitts. You going to pass on Kyle Pitts? Mm-hmm. So, I think it started getting interesting after the top 3. I do agree with Schrager's on that. I think since the Cincinnati pick is right, I think Sewell, listen, we seen what happened to Joe Burrow. We seen it. Like, he came out there, he was a trooper until he just couldn't be a trooper no more, and they got him on out of there. The man needs some protection. He out here running for his life. They asked, Joe Burrow, what do you think about the NFL? It felt like the escape room. Like, so they're going to give him some protection. Let's rock with that. Minnesota, I think Minnesota would be I said Minnesota? Miami, I'm sorry. I think Miami would be very warranted to take a wide receiver. Whether it's Jamar Chase, whether it's Devontae Smith, whether it's Jaden Waddle. Waddle might be the guy that a lot of teams with no combine are saying, we kind of want to see a little more because of the ankle injury. So most likely, Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith will be one of the first 2 wide receivers taken off. Whichever one Miami go with, I don't think they can get it wrong. I don't really have a preference in. It is what it is. I guess they both have pros and cons. Jamar Chase, 2020 season was just off the chain, and then you got Devontae Smith who won the Heisman, so that tell you all about his season. So you know what I'm saying? You can take your choice. Jamar Chase opted out. Devontae Smith played last year. So you take your pros and cons how you take them, but either one, I just don't think it's going to be that bad. And then Shrake said that Arizona gonna most likely trade like with the Lions or something like that. He got Jaden Waddle going 7 for the Cardinals. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. You want to put somebody on the other side of DeAndre Hopkins, a guy that can take usually can take the defense off if their ankle is healed, and he is Jaden Water, one of the most explosive guys to touch a college football field. Then I got it. Now, here's where we're like, oh look, wait a minute. Let's talk about 8, 9, and 10. If Carolina drafts Justin Fields, this will be one of the braziest moves I ever seen from like a second-year head coach. And that contract must be fire. Because how do you say, hey, we're going to sign Bridgewater. All right, get him out of here a year later. Let's go trade for the guy from Sam Darnold. Oh, hey, before he even take a snap, though, let's go draft Justin Fields from Ohio State with the 8th overall pick. Yo, you better have a hell of an explanation for this. Like, I want to hear this. Because you out here just, quarterback the most important position on the team, right? And you just out here just, yeah. So you better have a very good explanation for that. Is it possible? Yes. And I do, like we was talking about before the segment, I do want to say this. Next year's draft is not going to be quarterback friendly. It's not. I mean, honestly, I was sitting here trying to ponder who I would even think would be the first quarterback taken next year. And I really got to think of it. I got to, go and do some research because I really don't know. I'm not trying to be funny, disrespectful, but I really don't know. I mean, I guess I would have to watch college football this year to see how they're going to go with that. So that's something to keep in mind when you see these quarterbacks, so many quarterbacks going in the draft this year, because it's gonna be a really big drop off next year. Number 9, your team, your boys, the Denver Broncos. You know what? And I'm gonna be honest with you. Before I go to number 9, I'm gonna talk to 10. We're gonna get back to 9, 10. Patrick Surtain, Cowboys. I think that's a good pick, but how can I put this? I think Jerry Jones now is, because he's spending so much money on the offense, because he's spending a lot more money on the offense. I just wonder how invested he would be into the defense. So I put a question mark there. Should they draft a cornerback? Yes. Will they? I'm wondering, because I'm wondering. I don't know. I think they should. It's just like Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Mark McCarthy. I don't know, but it seems like they're fixated. I wouldn't be surprised to see an offensive tackle come off the board for the Cowboys at 10. That's what I'm trying to say in so many words. I wouldn't be surprised that I see an offensive tackle or something of that nature, maybe a tight end or something. Because I think now they're like, listen, our defense is what it is. They just beef up on the offense and then just get makeshift parts for the defense. And so to go back to 9, so I can transition this over to you. Do y'all take Trey Lance? Do you give up on Drew Lock? I mean, maybe Drew Lock is salvageable. We don't know. Only the people in the front office know. But with that being your team, I'm gonna turn it over to you from that point.
Yeah, because I definitely wanted to start at pick number 9, but we'll pick up there because that is the big question. And I think we have a new GM in George Patton, and that's got to be the first order of business. Is him and Vic Fangio and maybe some of that offensive staff, Mr. Dressingless Salad Pat Shurmur over there. They got to get together and figure out and make a determination on Drew Lock. Is it worth continuing on and giving him a third year? Some guys it takes a little bit. We talk about Josh Allen. There was that growth process that he had. Drew Lock is a talented guy. We saw it in his, the end of his rookie season. Very inconsistent last year to the point where he was just not good. Way too many turnovers. We know he does have talent, and he hasn't been fully healthy either season. So, and Denver, the one good thing about it is, if Denver is not sold on Drew Lock and they want to spice it up, get a little competition, and they think they see the next guy, and it'd be great to have a guy because they haven't had one since neck surgeries, Peyton Manning. This is it's a good time to pull the trigger because there's not a whole lot not to like about the rest of this team. You got weapons with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. You got to think he's going to take a big step in his next year. Also, KJ Hamler. So they got weapons. Melvin Gordon in the backfield. I'd imagine in a mid round they get another back since they lost Philip Lindsay. But Garrett Bowles, had a excellent year last year. He got an extension. The middle of your offensive line, I think is very good. You'd like to upgrade right tackle a little bit, but I think Vic Fangio's defense is going to be great. The secondary, the moves they made, they paid Justin Simmons. They brought Kareem Jackson back. Bryce Callahan, Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby coming in. So I think Vic Fangio is going to have a big time defense. But that's I don't know the answer. I don't know which way to go. I'm conflicted about it. Put the faith in them. If they think Trey Lance or if Justin Fields falls this low, then it becomes very interesting because I think I would draft Justin Fields. But you know how I am about, even though all the credit in the world to North Dakota State, because we've seen Carson Wentz, so obviously guys that come out of there, they can play. But I haven't seen Trey Lance, so I don't know about it. Nothing against the young man, but I got to see it, and I ain't seeing much. I'm not seeing much broadcasting on ESPN for the North Dakota State action. Back to the top, though, yeah, I think, Trevor Lawrence, I can't imagine him not going number one. We know Cody, George, whatever we're calling him today. He'd lose it there. He might go out there and riot over that. I think whoever, I'm looking at pick number 2 in the New York Jets, and I just automatically feel sorry for whoever it is. Because much like Robert Saleh and whoever else, that's a tough place. And we saw, Sam Darnold, who a lot of people believed in, had no success. Hopefully he gets a reprieve now, but Peter Schrager, I guess he's got other ideas. But Zach Wilson, BYU, it's another team I didn't see a lot of. But he's one of those guys, and we see it, year after year. There's a guy, a workout warrior, so to speak, who, has all the measurables and all those things that, makes pro scouts drool. And I think Zach Wilson's been that guy this year. The Mac Jones thing is kind of interesting. I don't think nobody anywhere had Mac Jones, like even on the first round radar. But now it's up to a point where now you got Kyle Shanahan kind of interested. Or so we think with him coming up to the third pick. It seems a little bit of a gamble because it just seems like too much of a jump, But we know what he did.
Let me ask you this: outside of Trevor Lawrence, because they all the only other person that was talked about other than Trevor Lawrence is Justin Fields, and because they saying he got a slight digression in his performance over the last 2 years. That's the only reason he's sliding. But if you use that point, they're all gambles because I think Trevor Lawrence is a gamble. Personally, if you actually paid him attention when he was playing, he could be a gamble. But I get what you're saying. That's what a lot of people say about Mac Jones, and I get a little frustrated with that because I'm like, what is Zach Wilson? What is Trey Lance? What is Justin Fields if you're being for real? Because they all got question marks, and there's no combine this year.
It just feels like the biggest jump has been Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. We've known about them. Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson seems like the classic measurables who great size, big arm, all those measurable things. And
like Mr. Biscuit to me.
Maybe. Well, he's going to the Jets, so probably so. But yeah, it's a little bit odd. It just Mac Jones there seems a little bit odd. We got Garoppolo hanging out there. We don't know what to make of the 49ers. We do know, if they step, we didn't see them going from the Super Bowl to the doormat in the West with all those injuries. But as you move down, I think you talk about Atlanta trading back, or maybe they get spicy up here and take a little, put their feet in the quarterback pool and say, we get on here and get some of this quarterback action because they got some good weapons, but they're in that even though they're picking 4, they're in that in between game, don't you think? Where
Right.
they have a guy who's playing quarterback who puts up great numbers, getting paid a lot of money, but yeah, I mean, it's just been a steady decline since that 28-3 collapse in the Super Bowl, and Kyle Shanahan leaves. They can't play defense no more, so they're in a real weird spot.
So my thing is this. Let me ask you this: if they draft Kyle Pitts, how many more games do they win with Kyle Pitts?
I don't think it makes much difference at all because I think in the end, I think we would agree that they still won't probably stop anybody. So yeah, they might. Kyle Pitts helps them, and he's gonna be a matchup nightmare. He's gonna be a threat in the red zone. He's gonna dominate the middle of the field, but you still got to stop somebody. I mean, what are we trying to do? Recreate the Pelicans in the NFL? So yeah, I'm not sold on that. Cincinnati getting offensive line help makes all the sense in the world. Miami, it seems like a slam dunk wide receiver pick for them. Me personally, I'd love to see Devontae Smith get reunited with Tua. I'm gonna tell you what, this 7th pick, Peter Schrager been listening to a drink of wisdom. You know why? Because they draft Jalen Waddle. Your boy Cliff is feeling it now. Because Jalen Waddle, let me tell you about Jalen Waddle. What maybe the greatest positional group in college football was Alabama's wide receiver group 2 years ago. With you talking about Judy and Ruggs and Devontae Smith, and the 4th guy was the guy who was must-see TV, and with the punt returning and all he could do after the catch. That was the most exciting guy for me to watch. Was really disappointed we didn't see more of him last season.
Right.
They had Jalen Waddle, and he's right. And this mock draft says the ankle has fully healed, so it could always unheal, but it's healed right now. They get Jalen Waddle in there with Hopkins and Murray, and we know that J.J. Watt and A.J. Green. And Larry Fitzgerald is still out there. He might be on a walker, but he's still good on 3rd and medium to move the chains.
Hey,
so
they got Larry Fitzgerald in a mentor position. He just mentoring them out there now.
there's a lot of weaponry out there. And hey, James Conner with Edmonds or whoever there's a lot of reason to
Hot seat buddy.
It looks like it. So those NFL win projections, you better hope somebody comes up a little bit short and you raise yours up a little bit. They come in last place. That's going to be trouble. The Carolina thing makes no sense to me. We talked about it, briefly before we got on here. I don't see why it would make sense to draft Justin Fields when you just traded for Sam Darnold. I get it. You didn't give up much to get him, but it just seemed like it wouldn't make sense. I think, Matt Rule being his 2nd year of a 7-year contract, so he's got a lot of leash. And judging by what they did the year 1, they're building things the right way. They completely retooled that defense. Sam Darnold, he's going to have real weapons. He's going to have a real opportunity. You don't have the New York media and all that mess. So I don't think this makes a lot of sense at all. I'd maybe looking at, maybe pick a spot on the offensive line and try to get better to, help Sam Darnold out, give him a little bit more time back there. And then, on after that, Trey Lance, as you continue down to see where he might fall. I mean, they got New England trading up. I mean, if Justin Fields, Trey Lance, if they fall, I mean, would Bill Belichick, would he be interested in a quarterback? I mean, we know they did bring back Cam Newton, but they spent money like crazy in free agency. They could be somewhat interesting. But on down, I mean, Philadelphia has the 12th pick right now. We have a question later on. I mean, are they sold on Jalen Hurts? I don't think they are. I'm not sold on Nick Sirianni personally, but that's a story for another day. But
I trust Jalen Hurts more than Nick at this point, right?
Yeah. But yeah, the quarterback, it's gonna be. There's a lot of teams in the market in the top 10 for a quarterback. So guys like for instance Mac Jones, who, the 3rd pick seems a little bit absurd, but the thing about the quarterback position and it relates to the draft is if the need is there, guys are gonna, this is the equivalent of like guys overpaying in free agency, right? Because it's such an important position. So, this could be the year, judging by the need for some of the teams at the top, including Atlanta, perhaps if they, say, hey, we're done, we don't want to play in the middle ground no more. Maybe they do something with Matt Ryan. So yeah, there's a lot of action going to be had early on with the quarterbacks.